Welcome back. And now for part 2. I need to say a trigger warning here. The themes and metaphor of Reptile Boy involve sexual assault, so some of the discussion coming up could be triggering, although there is a lot that could be helpful. When Buffy slices and kills Makita, there is a snake sound effect. Did you notice that?
I did. I wondered what exactly they used in order to get that effect.
I think it may have had a real rattler.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Buffy and Giles make peace. He realizes from what Willow said and what has happened that he has been pushing her too hard. Jonathan is at the Bronze again, and Cordelia is treating him like a slave. Her own behavior is a bit like hazing here.
Absolutely. She's putting him through his paces.
She is. Xander explains that the boys are going to prison for consecutive life sentences. There have been lots of missing girls over the course of 50 years. Chairmen and founders of many corporations were a part of this fraternity and were part of the rituals. Many CEOs and presidents have indeed belonged to fraternities. Thomas Jefferson, Rutherford B. Hayes was an honorary member, James A. Garfield, Chester A. Arthur, Grover Cleveland was an honorary member, Benjamin Harrison, William McKinley, Theodore Roosevelt, William Howard Taft, Woodrow Wilson, Calvin Coolidge, Franklin D. Roosevelt, Harry S. Truman was an honorary member, Dwight D. Eisenhower was an honorary member, John F. Kennedy was an honorary member, Lyndon B. Johnson was a member, but it's not clear if he was initiated, Gerald Ford, Ronald Reagan, George Bush, Bill Clinton was an honorary member, and George W. Bush.
Wow.
Isn't that wild?
That is an extensive list.
Yeah. Another upsetting thing about the Greek organizations is that in the past, they enacted prohibitions on pledging individuals of different races and cultural backgrounds. Surprise, surprise. This began historically with white fraternities and sororities.
No comment.
I'm with you. Members of Greek life experience higher rates of sexual violence and date rape than college students who aren't members, and studies show fraternity houses are a common location for campus sexual violence. In fact, some studies indicate fraternity men are 3 times more likely to commit sexual assault than non-affiliated students. The felony crime of sexual coercion of women can be seen as a sport or a contest between the men. A 2021 Los Angeles Times article said, quote, "While sexual assault on campuses is said to be underreported, research on fraternities and sexual violence is thin. Some data shows that more than a quarter of female undergraduate students and almost 7% of their male counterparts will experience rape or sexual assault through physical force, violence, or incapacitation, according to the advocacy group Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, RAIN. Sociology professors Elizabeth Armstrong and Laura Hamilton, who in 2013 wrote the book Paying for the Party: How College Maintains Inequality, conducted an intensive 5-year study on college students by living amongst, following around, and interviewing students in one dorm at an anonymous Midwestern public university. Close to the release of their book, Jessica Valenti wrote in The Guardian, "Fraternities are hotbeds for all sorts of risk: alcoholism, alcohol poisoning, people falling out of windows, and dangerous hazing incidents. Frats vary tremendously in terms of how sexually dangerous they are. Traditionally, African American frats, gender-inclusive frats, and multicultural frats are not as threatening as those populated by mostly white, economically entitled students. Our culture puts the survivor on trial and is reticent to believe them. I'm not saying there aren't false accusations in the mix, but often people who have been traumatized get re-traumatized coming forward. There are organizations that work to take care of survivors. RAIN operates the National Sexual Assault Hotline. Their number is 1-800-656-HOPE, which is also 1-800-656-4673. They take calls 24 hours a day. They also have an online hotline, hotline.rainn.org, which provides confidential support and resources. Peace Over Violence is a sexual and domestic violence, intimate partner stalking, child abuse, and youth violence prevention center headquartered in Los Angeles. Their phone number is 1-213-955-9090. We know Wendy Blanco, the head of trauma recovery there, and she is wonderful. Internationally, you can look up the numbers for similar resources in your area. Some documentaries on this exact sphere are The Hunting Ground, a 2015 documentary about sexual assault on U.S. college campuses and the reported failure of college administrations to deal with it adequately. Raw Deal, A Question of Consent, was released in 2001. This is a documentary about a University of Florida fraternity party that led to what may or may not have been a rape, with footage from the night of the incident. Hazing was released in 2022. It explores the culture of hazing within various groups, including fraternities, and highlights its connection to violence, including sexual degradation, binge drinking, and institutional cover-ups. Houses of Horror: Secrets of College Greek Life was released last year. It is a docuseries which features first-hand accounts of the darker aspects of Greek life: extreme hazing, drug use, and sexual assault. It highlights how the culture within fraternities can facilitate this behavior. A couple of books in this exact area are Fraternity Gang Rape: Sex, Brotherhood, and Privilege on Campus from 2007 by Peggy Reeves Sanday, and We Believe You: Survivors of Campus Sexual Assault Speak Out from 2016 by Annie E. Clark and Andrea L. Pino. There are a lot of movies about secret societies doing rituals. There's Rosemary's Baby from 1968. This classic horror film involves a young woman who becomes pregnant and suspects her neighbors are part of a satanic cult. The Wicker Man from 1973. A police sergeant investigating a missing girl on a remote Scottish island uncovers a pagan cult and their elaborate rituals, culminating in a fiery sacrifice.
Eyes Wide Shut from 1999, Stanley Kubrick's film features a secret society with masked members who participate in sexually charged rituals. The Ninth Gate, also from 1999, features a book collector who gets involved with a secret society seeking to summon the devil through a ritual. The Skulls from 2000 is about a secret society on an Ivy League campus. The Conspiracy from 2012 is a faux documentary in which the crew faces a secret society and their rituals.
The Sacrament from 2013, in which a news team investigates a religious commune and discovers it's a dangerous cult. The Ritual from 2017 features four friends on a hiking trip in the Swedish wilderness who encounter a creature tied to ancient pagan rituals. Hereditary from 2018. This film centers on a family with a dark secret and a cult that seeks their lineage for their own sinister purposes. There are lots of comedies set in fraternities and sororities, like Animal House and Anna Faris's House Bunny, as well as many other horror movies. Dealing with brutality in a realistic vein are A Family Divided from 1995, starring Faye Dunaway. In the movie, a family is torn apart when the mother learns that her perfect son participated in a fraternity gang rape that resulted in a girl's death. And The Accused from 1988, starring Jodie Foster. After a young woman suffers a brutal gang rape in a bar one night, a prosecutor assists in bringing the perpetrators to justice, including the ones who encouraged and cheered on the attack. It's not set in a fraternity, but it explores group-think dynamics. For someone with no reflection, I have a lot of reflections to share.
Please do.
I went through my own abuse and trauma. Words like abuse and trauma were not part of the vernacular in my day. Little girls should be seen and not heard. Little girls should be seen and not heard. Little girls should be seen and not heard. Drew, you're no longer that young girl. Not heard. Shh. 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 Drusilla, truly, you've come a long way. Yeah? Yeah. Oh, to quote Virginia Slim, I've come a long way, baby. Well, I'm not sure a tobacco ad is the best mantra, but yes, you have. There are a number of relatable themes in Reptile Boy. This episode explores groupthink. It explores abuse by a group. It explores abuse. It explores underage drinking. It explores putting oneself at risk by wanting to fit in. It explores disregarding signals and also standing up for yourself when you need to.
Groups can easily get stoked into a frenzy. Even Xander wants to be part of this group for his own reasons. To stand apart because something isn't right for you or your values is one of the toughest things you'll ever have to face. I think we all know somebody of any sort of variety of backgrounds, genders, who have been in situations where they've either been assaulted, raped, or harassed. And I personally know a number of people who never said anything except to each other. I had an experience myself in college, and it's something that just needs to be addressed more, and people should feel more open to be able to talk about these things.
And did you ever come forward and talk about it?
I told my mother at the time, in having this conversation, I had pretty much forgotten about that whole incident in college. It was my sophomore year. I was living in New York City, and it was middle of the day. I had 2 roommates that were both home, and it was the safest and most comfortable environment to be in. I thought that inviting somebody up for a work conversation, not thinking anything was wrong with it, left him in the kitchen while I went into my room to go get some photographs. And when I turned around, he had followed me into the bedroom instead. I just remember my bed was covered in film equipment. Like there was nothing even remotely sexy or inviting about this moment. But when I turned around, his pants were down. I was so confused. I was scared. And again, my roommates are literally right on the other side of that door. And I had to explain to him that nothing was happening and that he had most definitely read everything wrong. I do not remember him apologizing. I do remember him just getting dressed.
So he did listen to you and he did hear what you said.
He did.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. But the awkwardness of the way the dorms are set up, you have to sign somebody in and out of the building.
Ugh.
So I had to walk him
Oh,
back downstairs and sign him out. And that whole elevator ride, all I kept thinking is, what did I do? What was I wearing?
it's so awful that we blame ourselves when it has nothing to do with anything, because very clearly it's not even him misreading because it's such an aggressive move. You turn around and his pants are down.
Yeah. One of my best friends who has since passed away, she had a situation where a guy asked her to look out the window and look at the view. And when she turned around, he had breakaway pants and he literally grabbed the
My
front of his pants
gosh.
and ripped them off. Also in college, but she handled it much better than I did because she just pointed at him and laughed. That kind of destroyed him without her having to do anything else.
But the breakaway pants may have enabled that. That has a bit of something that you could maybe in the moment think, oh, I could diffuse this. And I don't think you would go there in any other circumstance necessarily.
Yeah, I think that move is only remotely sexy if you're a professional dancer. Again, this happened in college. I think it happened the year after what happened to me. And that's just the 2 of us. I know plenty of other people, men and women, that had people just decide that they could take whatever they want without asking, without considering the other person at all. After that, I became very cautious going to school. I became very wary of late night editing sessions, and it put a whole different spin on my college experience.
Mm-hmm. Well, and he was older than you and taking advantage of that too.
But even in that, I started questioning how I participated in this. And the truth of it was somebody just decided to take advantage and shoot their shot in a despicable way. What I can say is at the end, I'm very happy that I took that lesson and it got me wiser in the future. My mother went on a mission to try to find him and beat him up. Luckily for him that she never did catch him, but especially in college, that first little bit of freedom, I think a lot of people feel that they have the right to take liberties.
I'm sorry you experienced that.
In a weird way, I'm not sorry.
It sounds like you took what you could from it to prepare yourself for the rest of your life, but I think there is something wrong with our society that it's so prevalent.
Absolutely. It's almost inevitable. It shouldn't be that way. You should think that people are going to go through their life and generally be safe. And then when something does happen, it's a surprise, whereas this is almost a foregone conclusion.
Thank you for sharing, Rebecca. Dev and I are proud of many of our A Place Among the Deadheads. The Place Among the Deadheads are fans of our film. One recently testified against her rapist at trial, and he was convicted. She did some incredible press to help others who have gone through this. The convicted rapist is now appealing, and it appears that a video has surfaced and she may have been violated by another person while she was drugged.
Oh, God.
She has been so brave and I would say fearless, but I think the better word is that she's been strong and courageous in the face of her fear, in the face of evil.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what it boils down to. And this episode looks at the nature of evil.
These women are only serving a purpose to feed these men's power. That's it. They are food. They are a means to an end. They're not people to them.
Well, that's the thing with sexual assault is it's nothing to do with sex. It is power and an abuse of power. Another thing it makes me think of is something that Dawn Didowick, who voices the mother in A Place Among the Dead, she told us this story. Dawn is Harry Groner's The Mayor's Wife, by the way. When Dawn was a young actress, she took a job getting paid to be involved in a psychological study, and it was supposed to refute the Milgram experiment. Do you know about the Milgram experiment?
No.
So this is more about the group think and the power dynamics, but it was a study aimed at determining how far people would go in obeying instructions that involved harming another person, particularly under the influence of authority figures. Participants were assigned the role of teacher and were instructed to administer what they believed were increasing levels of electric shock for incorrect answers on a memory task to a learner who was in fact an actor. The shock generator had switches ranging from 15 volts to 450 volts. The learner was not actually being shocked, but would act as if they were in pain and in distress. The results showed that a significant number of participants administered the maximum 450-volt shock, with all participants continuing to at least 300 volts, every single one. The conclusion was that ordinary people are likely to obey authority figures, even when it conflicts with their own personal moral beliefs. So Dawn was there to help refute the finding in a subsequent study. I think she said there were 50 people in hers. They were told ahead of time that Dawn had a heart condition and that the electric shock could kill her. It turned out that every single person but one, all but one, shocked her to the maximum amount. Isn't that insane?
On one hand, I think, how can people do that? But I mean, history has shown us how people get carried away and later will say, oh, I didn't know what I was doing or I was under orders. I know that I could not knowingly cause someone pain.
No. And being told also, oh, she could die from this, and then still giving her a charge for getting a wrong answer on a test. It's madness.
It makes me also think of the Stanford prison experiment.
What was that?
It was a group of college students doing a psychological study similar, where they broke them up into half the group being prisoners and half the group being prison guards.
Oh, yes.
And you see what a position of power and the group egging each other on leads to. Well, they had to shut the whole study down because they were abusing their fellow students to such a degree as guards.
Crazy.
And these were just like normal college students.
And you think we're the demons. Good point.
It sure is.
On a lighter note, what is the line of dialogue from this episode that you would get as a tattoo?
I would go with Willow saying,
Askew means cockeyed.
I love that. Mine are when Giles is in the library and says,
just because the paranormal is more normal and less para of late is no excuse for tardiness or letting your guard down.
and when Buffy is talking to Tom for the first time.
You know, people underestimate the value of a good ramble.
I love that one, because I tend to ramble.
They're also perfect setup for not just the line tattooed, but great imagery with it.
For sure.
What about you, Drew?
I too go with Giles's wiles. He's expressed my sentiments exactly. Although it's quite nice for us that she's distracted. We can always count on you for the alternate viewpoint. I do have a fresh POV. It's POV. That too. Boop boop be Drew. Let's do the call out for the contenders for the next battle of the Uber Buffy fans.
Let's get ready to Buffy!
If you want to be considered as a contender for this season's trivia battle, please email revampedpod@gmail.com. Yes, be sure to include your name, where you weigh in with your number of watch-throughs, where you're located, something interesting about you, or something that you think would be good to share, and
your social media handles.
Enough of something extremely different.
Different.
When I was in 3rd grade, I lived in London. I had been to this posh store, Harvey Nichols, and I fell in love with this stuffed animal in the children's department. It looked like a cross between a cougar and a bear, but it was floppy. It wasn't really fully stuffed because it had a zipper in its belly where you could hide things. I fell in love at first sight. I wanted it so badly. My parents said I could get it, but I had to get it for myself by saving up for it, which I started immediately. I saved, and I saved, and I saved, and I saved. I put my allowance money and even my transport money towards it. I'd walk anywhere that was possible instead of taking the tube or the buses. And I would visit Barry, as I named him. I have no idea why. I think maybe he was Barry because he looked a bit like a bear. And I'd visit him all the time to make sure that he was still there. I got to know this sales gal, Nan, who would see me casing Barry. I confided that I was saving up, and I asked her if anyone had been interested in Barry. Nan told me not to worry, because she had a lot of them in stock in the back. This went on for months and months and months. The numbers in back started dwindling as Barry's sold. Finally, one morning, I had the money. I had the money for Barry. Hooray! I barely had enough time to run to Harvey Nichols in Knightsbridge. The shop would just be opening, buy Barry, run home, and catch the 2B or 26 bus to school. I set out, pounding the pavement, stressed that I wouldn't make it to school on time. I picked up my pace, and I ran as if I was on fire. I had all this change bogging me down, and so I was jingling with each stride, and I finally arrived just as the doors were being unlocked. I hightail it to the children's department, and oh, Barry is there. I'm so excited. I pick him up gingerly. I brought him to the counter. Nan was there manning the register. She rang Barry up, and I proceeded to dump mounds of change on the counter. She started counting it, which took quite a while. I picked Barry up from where she'd laid him, and I started hugging him really tightly. She got to my last 50p. She stopped, and she frowned. "Oh no, darling, you're £5 short." And my brain was screaming, "What? What? What?" But all I said out loud was, "Oh, okay, I can save up and I can come back." And she said, "But I was so glad you came in today. This is now the very last one." And I think my face must have dropped to the ground. She said, "How long do you think it will take?" And I estimated that it would be about 6 weeks. And she said, "Oh, I don't think he'll be here." A- I must have looked so crestfallen, like I was going to weep, because she quickly said, "Don't you fuss. I'll make up the difference." And she pulled £5 out of her purse and put it in the register. I protested that I could not possibly take it, but she said, Nah, it's all right. It'll be my good deed for the day." I hugged her so tightly. She laughed, and I started jumping up and down as I thanked her. I then promised that I would save my money and I would come back with her £5 as soon as I could. She waved me off, but I promised. I was so gleeful running back home with Barry. I was sweating and I was panting, but I was glowing in triumph. And I did as I promised. I saved and I saved, and I went back once I'd saved the amount. I didn't see Nan, so I asked another sales lady at the counter if I could see Nan. She said that Nan wasn't there. I asked if she could take the money, and I started to get the change out of my pockets and give it to her. And she said, "No, Nan has left Harvey Nichols." And so I never got to give her the money back. But Nan, if you are listening, you were so kind and you made a little girl's heart soar.
That's beautiful.
He was so sweet.
And it's something that you carried with you. And something tells me she also carried it with her as well.
Oh, she was the best. I loved her, and she just gave me faith in adults and humanity. What about you?
I had a rough time in elementary school, but I was very, very good at masking everything. So most people wouldn't have seen it. I was after school and feeling a little shell shocked from the day. And Mrs. Clancy was our crossing guard. And I was just kind of loitering around her. My mom or my grandmother usually picked me up in the parking lot. Mrs. Clancy was all the way down by the school buses. So there was no reason for me to be there. But I was just kind of drawn over to her. And she just started talking to me not like a kid, but like a person. That bit of kindness continued to grow, and every day I would come and say hi to her in the morning, and then after school, I would stand with her and just talk about the day, talk about what was happening, and she was endlessly kind and stayed. If my mom or my grandmother wasn't there in time to pick me up, she would stay well past when she was supposed to be there just to stay with me. And I will never forget that. She was a lovely woman.
That is so beautiful.
Everybody matters, people. Everybody matters.
I wish I got to meet her. She sounds special.
She had these wonderfully rosy cheeks. You know, she was a grandmother, gray hair, lived like a block away from the school, and still drove every day, but just absolutely lovable.
See, that's a person who should be around children.
Yes.
There's a lot of teachers that shouldn't be, and a lot of people around education that don't necessarily have kindness in their heart. And She is someone who obviously did and made a big impact.
Like your Nan.
Mhm.
These are the people that stick with us more than anything. The people that are kind to us, are patient with us, are understanding, and offer whatever assistance they can. They live forever because of their deeds for us.
They're eternal in a whole different way.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which,
Interview with the vampire. This evening's vampire question.
Yes, mister.
So for eternity, having an eternity to practice, what skill would you like to master?
well, even with eternity, I don't think Minion Juliet could master her fashion sense or her comic timing. I'm ignoring that.
That's the deep burn.
Ooh. That's a snake and a hot hiss. All right, Drew. All right. Let's see. What would I want to master? I think it would be mastering every language. That way, when I traveled, I could speak fluently and blend in, or at least I could assimilate. I have a friend who speaks 7 languages. I'm in awe of that. I think it would be languages. What about you, Sire Rebecca?
I'd also like to learn languages.
Ooh.
How many languages do you know right now?
As far as languages, I only speak English and a little bit of French, so I'm lacking. But I do every dialect under the sun. Does that count?
That does count in my
Although-
book.
I don't think if I'm traveling to Russia and I start speaking in a Russian accent, that would help me much.
I too, well, English most of the time, and I speak a bit of French. I would like to learn more, and I would love to learn how to play the violin. I attempted lessons, but the teacher basically just had me work on my posture for 6 months, standing against a wall. I never actually played a note.
Oh my God.
So, to her credit, she was one teacher teaching 5 different instruments at the exact same time.
So you just go stand against the
Yeah, I stood against the wall while this kid, James, learned how to play drums right next to me. So I would love to learn how to finally play the violin.
Oh my gosh, we're similar. I love the violin. I also love the cello. String instruments are so beautiful. Would you learn the languages to travel?
Absolutely. I love traveling, and I try
too.
to learn a little bit of a language before I go someplace just to be able to, if not read it, to speak it, at least attempt. Me in Japan was hilarious. That's all I'll say about that.
Well, that's kind of awesome because we could also travel together for eternity.
Yes.
We could plan our travel itinerary.
Can you imagine learning like dead ancient languages and just like occasionally throwing those out to look fancy?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can read that. I can speak that dead language.
I actually think Latin is fascinating because it's the root of everything, but I think it's hard to learn.
I wish our school had had Latin as an option. I know some schools did. Our elementary school had French,
Yes.
which suited me. And then high school, it was Spanish or French. So I just continued with French. Yeah.
So give me one Japanese word.
My mother and my father came on the trip. We were going to see my grandfather who was on tour, and I tried to teach a little bit of Japanese for the trip. And for some reason, my mom, instead of saying konnichiwa, she kept saying kamikaze.
Oh.
And I just I was like, no, please, don't. Oh no, oh no. So yeah, I spent a lot of that trip apologizing.
She doesn't mean that. She really
She doesn't mean that. She doesn't know what she's saying. Pay no attention to this woman.
Oh my gosh.
I used to know how to say I can speak a little Japanese, but now for some reason it's gone right out of my head.
But now you can't speak. a
Now
little
I can't
Japanese.
even speak that little bit of Japanese.
Revamptees, please correspond with me on our Patreon page, Revamped with Juliet Landau. Wait, before we go, what did the husband and wife snakes do after a fight? Okay, what? They hissed and made up. So, Re-Vamped, why do you have to be careful with what you say to snakes? Go on. Ask why.
Why?
Because they can be viper sensitive. Re-Vamped, please connect with me on one more. Go for it. What is a snake's favorite comedy group?
What is it?
Monty Python. Uh-huh. Or I guess I should say, he. Yes. Re-Vamped, reach out to me on always look on the bright side of life. Come on, you two. Whistle. Always look on the light side of life. Again.
I used to have the Monty Python songbook.
You did?
Yes.
Oh, I love it. I do too. That's fantastic. It's never bad to wrap up with Monty Python. Re-Vamped, please correspond with me on our Patreon page, Revamped with Juliet Landau, on Twitter, @Juliet Landau, on Instagram, @Juliet_Landau, and on the Fans of Juliet Landau Facebook group or Juliet Landau official Facebook page. I also want to do a shout out to our brilliant editor, Patrick Sheffield, who wows me every time with his unparalleled talent. Thank you, Patrick. You are the best.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Patrick.
Until we meet again.
Yes, see you next time when we do it again. And until then, rewatch, revamp, reinvent, and be remarkable you. Patreon peeps to be read in the credits: Dave Hall, Fawny June Kendall, Daniel Harbour, Louise Brennan, Brandon Key, Cameron Burton, Donnie Ruskin, Madeline Pruitt, Marion Stevenson, Antonio H. Gutierrez, and Bobby Pelham. It makes all the difference because we cannot keep making the show without you. Thank you. Thank you so much.